Thank you so much. Thank you so much, fellow SMEs owners. Welcome to SMEs Connect South Africa, which is an ecosystem of grooming each other and ensuring that we grow as owners of small and medium size enterprises. I love the fact that has done wonders. They put their background, their businesses, and I see Mary also done a similar thing. So for those also who are interested to show their names and background, can do so. It's very easy to do the background. You just put it at the back. We are live on YouTube. So for those who might be watching from YouTube and also watching our sessions afterwards, please support the companies that are here, get to know them. They'll be sharing their details. Our session is straightforward. We're going to be introducing each other very briefly, introducing our companies, what we do, who we are briefly within 60 seconds, right? And then from there, you're going to mention what are the problems. Maybe one problem. Maybe let's start with one problem. What is one problem that you are faced with in a business? Then we're going to write it down. So I expect all of you guys to write that particular problem down. And then from there, once we've collected all those problems, we're going to have a discussion and tackle those issues to say, how do we go about resolving that? We need to at least come up with solution. Of course, we might not be able to resolve all the problems, but then at least let's try to attempt to address those that we haven't addressed them. Maybe we might want to consider having a session with experts. I think it was Gia who started first. Maybe let me start with you, Gia, or who? Is it Mary? Okay, it's fine. Gia is running away. Okay, so I will start with Mary. Let me do this. I'll start with Mary. Mary, please formally introduce yourself. This is the board session of SMEs Connect South Africa. So you're more than welcome to formally introduce yourself, what you do, who you are, and ensure that your contact details are visible. I see you're hiding your contact details there. And then so that it's much easier to be accessible. And we don't know. Social media is powerful. We don't know who's seeing who. Let's collaborate. Let's grow all together. Go ahead.
Good evening. I hope my network is okay because I'm in the Bundus, so it might just be off and on and off. But in short, I am Mary Laratomnisi. I'm the founder of Cortes Pty Ltd. It's mainly a parent company that concentrates on branding and display needs. Branding in terms of promotional items only, and nothing more, nothing less. Should a client come to us seeking for extra things, we refer them to some other printing company of some sort. And we also have a faith store. We call it internal faith store. That also deals with apparel currently because it's a building momentum on that. So those are the two companies that Cortes Pty Ltd is currently focusing on.
Okay. And what is one problem that you will want the ecosystem to tackle tonight?
I could say I'm having challenges with finding balance in the business plan, basically, because I have two businesses, and again, I'm worried about the tax to say, when is it the right time to say, okay, now we are liable for tax because it's just the starting up business.
So you're basically saying you're more concerned, just so that everyone is clear. I'm going to try to ensure that everyone is clear. You're saying, given those two companies, your question is, how do I strike balance between running two companies? That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So finding a balance, guys. I hope all the colleagues have heard Mary. Her issue is finding a balance for running two companies. And then obviously we're going to ask those questions and critique her. I hope that people can take criticism very, very well. because we all want to see Mary growing in her own right as a businesswoman. So we say finding two balance of those two companies. Maybe Kia, you wanna come through? You're on mute.
Buga.
Please go ahead, Kia.
Evening, everyone. Kiamukhatsi Maleka. An optometrist with a practice in Rustenburg and in Marikana. I think my major challenge is one, in terms of organization, making sure that there's fluidity in terms of our operations, so that whoever moves in or in terms of changing stuff, they're able to easily grasp how the business works. And I think theft, yes, as well.
Theft. Okay, do you want to explain what's going on with theft?
Like you would employ somebody and find out that they're actually stealing funds in the company.
Okay. So maybe I don't see Pumzile here. Okay, that could go back to issue of vetting the employees and your hiring policies. I'm not seeing her here, but the nice thing is that some of these issues, if you're open, I'm happy to refer people that I know that specialize in that space. You can, or I can invite those people in our next sessions and we deliberate. It depends on what you are looking for. Do you want to wait, or do you want to go ahead and fix those things? And even the issue of systematization, I know one of my good friend JT specializes in that, optimizations of the systems to ensure that you document your processes and everything like that. He's a master when it comes to that. He does that for living. So exactly that. Those are issues that, I like that. We're going to have a discussion on that. We can bring him easily and have a session around that. And who's next? Who wants to come through? You can raise your hand, and then we you explain who you are, what's your business, and then what issue are you faced with in your business. Are you guys shy? Mpela, Puti? Okay, Wisi, come through. Hi, Wisi.
Afternoon. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can, Wisi. Go ahead.
All right. Okay, no problem. So my apologies about my background. Yeah. So my name is Busisiwe Mabasa. I am the director of Ukwanda Stationery. We're a supply and delivery company. We're not only a stationery company, but we're also an IT company based in Joburg. And then I would say that one of the challenges that we are currently facing as a business is that I'm sure that everyone goes through this. It's funding, So you find that we are already a business that's operating, but sometimes you find that we get like such huge amounts of POs from customers. And you find that with funding, especially with government, they take forever to respond. They take forever. And you find that maybe you have a PO and you need to get stock as soon as possible. And there is no way that you can reach out business. So I think that's one of the challenges that we currently face. So thank you.
Okay, cool. So we already know that one issue here is the funding. So we're gonna deliberate on how do we go about preparing ourselves, because I another thing that it actually remind me, Wusin, one of the things that small and medium-sized enterprises don't focus on is how do we get ourselves ready for funding. And that's very crucial. And I like what Gia is saying. Gia, you know that when companies that does funding, when they come to you, let's say we speak to business partners, we can easily bring them here. We speak to business partners who say, we've got Busi who sometimes need funding and things like that. They'll ask a simple question. If they were to do due diligence on your company, would your company pass due diligence? What do we mean? Do you have systems and processes that your business is running on? Exactly what Gia is concerned with. She wants to build her business in such a way that if she's not there, also the business is able to run without her in most cases. Or for that matter, the time it takes to train the staff. If the staff leaves, they don't leave with an institutional memory. Someone else can easily go and pull information and train themselves for specific work and be able to do that particular task. And those are some of the crucial things that we might not be ready for, because it depends also on the type of funding that you're looking for. If it's a loan, guys, the requirements for funding will differ. It could be that you've got your financials, you're compliant when it comes to tax returns, the way you're using money in your bank statement, they don't see liquor store, and that time when you are running optometry, but then there's an expense that went in for, I don't know, for buying liquor at some shop. Those are some of the things that some of these due diligence could pick it up, and you find that you're not financially ready and they're declining. But then also we need to be mindful, guys, as we build in business, there are many ways of raising funding. We should be thinking of creative financing where we are bringing in equity partners. What will the equity partner look for when it comes to investing in your business? I mean, if I come in to a business and I want to invest in a business, I'll look at the sustainability of the business outside of the founder. If the founder is no longer available, how would this business, because if I were to put 500,000 and then tomorrow the founder gets hit by the car and passes on, and then the business collapse, because I'm not an expert in that field. I'm just buying and investing. And so I need to invest in the systems. When I'm buying shares in your business, I should not be buying you. I should be buying the business. The business viability should be sustainable, irrespective of, and that is the mindset that we need to have as the small and medium-sized businesses to start building our business. I'm not deliberating on the issue, we see, but I just when we open for discussions, these are some of the things that we need to ask ourselves as part of the discussion. Who else wants to come in and introduce themselves and raise their one big issue that they're faced with that we're gonna deliberate on a board session? Just raise your hand and then we'll note you. You introduce yourself and you give us one key issue that you are faced with that you need us to deliberate on. Simple as that. Okay, so it seems like some people are still getting confident, but yeah, maybe let's start with issue of funding. And I'll open for the floor. I'll open to the floor. Kia, maybe I'm going to pick on you since you are a co-host. I'm going to pick on you. Where you are, I mean, you're already having 2 practices from what I'm seeing on your... In fact, I'm due for in the next, I think it's the next 12 months, I'm due for my to replace my classes. Definitely I'm coming to you. I'll take pictures when I'm fixing I should go to Sun City Drive and then come to you for my, I'm due for change. Yeah, so definitely I'll use you. So, but then let's focus on the issue of funding. And I know it's a very broad issue, right? But I want you to give me a practical example on how did you go about raising fund, and funds. It could be that 10,000. It could be, and I think I want you to be more practical and more so that it opens other people's, like the ideas. How did you go about raising that 100,000? How did you go about raising that 500,000? How did you go about raising that 1 million? And how did you go raising that? Or even have you considered even vendor financing? Because some people even consider things like that. What did you do in your business so far?
Okay, me, like when I began initially, I decided to change countries.
Okay.
I worked in another country where payment, I was getting paid in USD as compared to rent. That was going to give me more income coming back home. So then it allowed me to save so I can then open a business. So when I started, I didn't really start with a lump sum of a loan. It was from what I had saved. And the relations that I made in terms of your fellow service providers that you get. I got somebody who was interested in investing in the company. So now I want to expand, and they're interested in investing in my company because of the relations that we made through service provision, like referring clients to them, etc.
Just unpack that, and because that principle could pretty much apply to anyone. So you are saying when you're working, were you referring certain work to them?
Yes. Through referring work to them, it created relations between the two.
Yes.
Yes.
And then they decided, let's rather buy. So they did what? I think they call it what? Those who are in business will guide me. I think is it a vertical acquisition where they're sort of buying where they realize that there's sort of an ecosystem where they can tap into for their clientele, because when they've got shareholding in business, it even makes it because if they didn't buy into you, you could have easily just chose Shilibo tomorrow and referred work to Shilibo. Am I correct to assume that? You're on mute, Kia.
Yes, I could have referred to anybody else, but now in their case, to expand, they're saying, okay, let us fund your expansion. So now I'm working on getting everything together in terms of documents and what to say, okay, here we're expanding. So they said, can you find a location where we want to now fund that in terms of the expansion? Yeah.
Okay. Are there any form of documentations or preparation that you needed to have before you can actually receive this funding that you felt that is something that you're not prepared for?
Yes, because currently now I'm trying to do the paperwork in terms of so that we have a mutually beneficial
Relationship.
yes.
But then tell me, I mean, I know I'm putting on a spot here, but I'm trying to extract as much because it's more practical. Would you say there are certain documentation, or would you say that there are certain things that should have been there even when you are running a business that are now being requested by these funders?
Yes, I think they should have been there. Yes, there's certain things that should have been there that
Okay.
you have to get them in place.
Are you free to share? What are those?
Okay, for one, in terms of now I'm looking for cost in terms of how much the cost of all the equipments that we're going to need to be able to expand.
Okay.
Yeah, but in terms of with finances, because I've got a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
So with the finances, that is already sorted in terms of.
But it was also required by them. You see, okay, so basically in terms of preparing yourself, you might want to know your business a little better, where you know the cost of running your business, the cost of fixed assets that you might need, how much it's going to. So basically, in knowing the numbers, someone always said you can't run a business without knowing the numbers in the business. Mary, maybe let me come with you. I don't know if you've raised funding. It doesn't matter how much it is. It could be 100 rand. It could be 1,000 rand. It could be a 10 million. What have you done to raise funding? Because I think that's what we see is struggling with. And then I think I'm going to open up for others. If there are no, then we'll move to the issue gear.
Honestly speak. Oh, okay.
Guys, if you want to speak, just raise your hand and then we'll note you.
Oh, okay.
So that there's an order. Yeah, you can go ahead, Mary.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. In regards to the business funding, one thing is with the services that I render, I actually like do it on cash based. So you pay me first and then I can render you the service. So with the profits that I'm getting with the orders that are being done, I'm actually taking that profit and looking for a machine that I can work through around. So I'm basically using my profits in order to manage my funding, if I may say. So I don't really have any specific way to say this is I've went to this, I've went to that. But I've also got like my family as a backup to say if should I run into problems, then I'm able to go to them.
Okay. I think for me, you already raised you raised a very crucial thing here, especially on reinvestment in your business. Most of us don't reinvest in our businesses. We make so much and then we extract exactly what we've made and whether to finance our lifestyles and things like that. And that is one of the things that makes our businesses stagnant and not growing as such. And I like that. I think you need to maintain exactly that. That is very, very important, and I think others can attest to that. So I reinvest, but I think also you are leveraging on families, and I think that's another thing. As SMEs owners, guys, we must also look internally. You might find that you've got family members that could assist you in terms of raising capital. Maybe touch on that because it could be much easier to raise funding from your family members, mainly because they know you, they know your integrity, they know they know your behavior, they know your habits and all those things. It could be much easier to convince those people to actually finance you. There was someone who wanted to come through. I'm not sure who it was. Do you wanna unmute yourself and then speak or raise your hand so that we can note you so that we don't speak over each other?
Oh, hi. My name
Yes,
is
Elaine.
Joyce.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
Yes, Dumeang, my name is Joyce. I'm from Kempton Park. What I can say about my business is I'm not growing, but I've got a strength as a buyer. Actually, I'm not a buyer. I can source products from anywhere. And, with me, like to share that you can, if you want this book or if you want this cement, if you want this meat, you can find it anywhere because I always do my research and then I've got a lack of finding things. So I believe that I've got strength in that. But since COVID, I've just realized that, we as Black people, we lack in terms of sourcing raw materials. Your raw materials like your bicarbonate of soda, your sugar, your collagen powder, all those raw materials that we use for ingredients every day. So there's where money is. I saw that's where money is. So my problem is that, like when you buy bicarbonate of soda, 20 kg, they sell it in 20 kgs in bulk. Ne? When you sell it, you repack it. That's where you get your big margin. But I've tried that. I've tried to repack. I lack marketing. Everything that I do is professional, but I don't grow as a business because even though I go to my local spas, I go to my local chemist and try to market my collagen powder, it doesn't sell because I don't know, maybe my marketing, I don't have that skill. How can you help me?
Okay. Thank you so much. I think I note your two comments. She mentioned her strength, and that's great. But then she'll identify that maybe on the area of business development, she's lacking. And I'll come to that. I think maybe let's close up the issue of Busi. we sort of round up the issue of funding. From my end, I picked it up, the issue of relationships. And I think it comes twice on Gia. Gia mentioned the relationship you make with your service providers, those people can potentially be your business partners. You need to learn to unlock such relationships. And I know that. And the second part is that Mary mentioned the issue of relationship with your family members. That is one way of raising fund. But I think the third thing that I'm noting also is the issue of reinvestment. Mary mentioned the issue of reinvesting in our businesses. And I think that is very, very important. She doesn't take the profit and pop the bottles, but then she takes the profit and then reinvest and buy those machines that are necessary. But I think also Kia mentioned the issue of being prepared. And I think one of the things that these funders, when they came in, and it's exactly what I said at the beginning, that you must be ready for due diligence, because these guys, when they bring their money, they want sustainability. They are not going to look for someone and finance someone who tomorrow the business is not going to be operational without their presence. So exactly that. Luckily, she was already doing her finances, financial statements and bookkeeping. But however, one of the things that she lacked, which she's fixing, and she's lacked because she has a strong relationship with those guys. In some cases, if you don't know your numbers, these funders, they go, because people run on time. So if you don't know and you're not ready, they go, they leave, they move on. So you are lucky that you've got a relationship. But I think it's also goes back to us, guys. Let's know our numbers in our businesses. What makes our business actually function? So, I mean, in her case, the fixed assets that are relevant. So those are some of the things that maybe we need to go back internally and assess our businesses to say, am I really in my business solid enough in terms of those? And can I use some of those things that were discussed as part of raising funding? So I think the issue of funding, maybe we summarize it well. Maybe let's go to agenda number 2. Maybe we'll bring those issues together. Systems implementation, because I think on the system implementation gear, it also speaks to how do you deal with theft. And because if you've got your HR processes and the vettings of and the policies, and also maybe if you are dealing with petty cash, the issue is how do you put the policies and procedures around your petty cash. If things that get stolen, is the stock, who's responsible for stock policies, and all those things, because ultimately there must be a controller there must be, we call it internal controls owner. There must be an internal control owner so that we can hold that particular person accountable. So the moment you've got that, and those things has to do with systems and processes. And I think I'm going to open it for to the floor before I take over, because sometimes you talk too much. Maybe let me allow others. Who wants to revisit the issue of how do we go about putting processes and systems in place so that when my employee leaves, whoever comes in doesn't start from the scratch and learn the job, but then they are able to tap into a certain institutional memory that has been documented, and then they're able to actually be functional. I think that is one pain that Gia is mentioning. But over and above that, how do you document and put your systems and process in such a way that should anything happens, or it can prevent issues of theft? And theft will differ from one business to the next. Where you are dealing with retail, it could be it could be all those mad things. But when it comes to hair, it could be frames, it could be all those other things that are sensitive when it comes to optometrists. So when it comes to other things, it could be money. People misappropriate bank accounts where you've got authorizations you've given to employees. Let me open it to the floor quickly. Let's deliberate. Who wants to raise their input from the floor? You can raise your hand, and then I'll allow you to speak, please. Mary, do you want to come in? You're on mute.
I think with that part, I'm also still trying to find my ground, because I'm currently doing all the things alone. Because yeah, I'm still trying to find my ground there.
But surely, even if you're doing things alone, remember controls could also apply to you. I liked what you already implemented when it comes to issues of not using money. Already there's an element of discipline, and to me, discipline is also control, because that falls under, in internal audit, we call it a control environment. And when you look at when we assess the control environment, we look at the culture of, and you might take it as not a control, and it's actually a control that we document when you do auditing. When we're doing what you call, I'm going to be technical, we normally do what you call walkthrough when we're testing the controls back in the days when you're still doing auditing. We do what you call a walkthrough, right? And then, you assess and observe, obviously, the controls of the organizations, but over and above it, we also look at what you call control environment. And that, to me, we look at also the culture of the management. If you've got management that is, and I'll give example. If you've got an employee who's an executive, he comes to work and he parked Ferrari, but when you look at his salary, when you do a payroll testing, you look at his salary, he's earning 10,000 or 15,000. I'm not saying he doesn't have rich uncles and rich funds and inheritances, but that it's a red flag, and doesn't mean all red flag. It's actually, but that is sort of some of the things that we assess, right? Where I'm going is that you also, in your sense, is that your culture, your management culture, it's that of conservativeness. So one can rest assured to a certain extent that money and policies and procedures are sort of can be laid out. You understand? So that is one of the things that actually influence and assist with control. Can you want to come in here before I go far? You're on mute?
Not really, but I just wanted to put just another aspect on driving a car that your salary does not. I realized a lot of people have different, like in my work per se, where there's the consultation daily as an income, but there could also be selling of stock to other optometrists as a way of making another source of income. So you find people are not necessarily, their income is not just based on their salary alone.
No, you're correct. But that's why I said it's a red flag, but doesn't mean that that person might be involved in some mischievous. So it gives us a heads up, because it influences the culture, it influences the dynamics of the corporate, and that can actually end up making control environment inefficient. I mean, we have seen it in those scenarios where people were picked up because of the houses they drive, I mean, not the houses they drive, but the houses they stay in, the cars they drive. It gave the lifestyle, and it gave an indication. And even SARS, by the way, SARS does that. SARS will ask you a simple question to say, what are your expenses? If they look at your expenses and then they look at the income that you're making, there's a mismatch, something is fishy around that person, then they go for an audit. All right, they will go for an intense audit. That's exactly what I'm saying. But I was explaining that to show Mary that is one of controls that you can actually implement. You need to start with that. You implement and start evaluating and reviewing your employees. That will give you an indication of who's most potentially going to get you into trouble. I'm not saying it's always the case, but it's another intel, because you must think, if the auditors are using that, surely it's something that they've seen it working. So as a senior and as an owner, you must start observing your employees' behavior. And because that influence potential that there might be a misappropriation. I mean, I'll give an example, and I'm not saying that is wrong. If you've got an employee that is into gambling, you've got your probability are there that you might find yourself with your money being misappropriated, mainly because that person could be addicted, and then they see and they look around, they need money for betting, and then they see opportunity and then they steal. So if people steal because they're influenced by various factors, and in some cases it could be as a result of consumption, and consumption could be the addictions and all the feeding of something, and doesn't mean that to eat alone, but then the lifestyle, they need to maintain that. So when you've got indicators that or observation around that, you're most probably going to be able to monitor and detect some of the potential issues that might happen. But I think also issues around maybe let me ask a question. When you say theft, so that we're more practical, maybe that could also have the discussion. When you say theft, what are we talking about? What type of theft are we talking about? Is it a theft in money or a theft in stock? What is the theft on?
In my case, it was both.
It was
Yeah, it was both, where I found out in terms of the cash, the person had their own receipt book.
okay.
So only when they were on leave that I was able to pick up somebody coming in with a receipt and saying, I'm expecting to be receiving the whatever the funds they're supposed to pay in this, and I've already paid. Here's a receipt.
Okay. I'm gonna deal with it. Let me wear my old auditors thing head. So there's this person, they pay forward for classes.
Yes.
And then who's responsible for ordering stock? Is the very same person who's receiving the cash.
Yes.
Aha. Now, here's the issue. And I know in auditing, we've got what you call segregation of duties. So what we then do, we typically look at when I enter in your business, and it's a challenge with small businesses, by the way. I don't expect you to have a perfect segregation of duties. Segregation of duties is exactly that perfect example. It prevents scenario where someone can handle the process from the door when the customer walks in until this customer receives the item, which means that they receive the money, they stock, they do, so they can run their business in your business. That's basically what you have been experiencing, right? And that is the weakness. That is there's a non-existent of segregation of duties. And I understand sometimes as SMEs, we don't have a capacity to hire to hire many people. Maybe we must make peace with the fact that when you're still building up, you need to take over certain processes, right? Instead of, you might have found that you over delegated. You might want to bring back some, because then sometimes we tempt people. There's temptations out there. So when someone sits back and they're given all these roles and responsibilities, they see opportunity, and then their lifestyle also takes over, and then they're thinking, yes, I can make a lot of money here, and then boom, they basically, and then start running their business inside your business. So that is basically what you do. So you, as a small business person, be careful of over delegating. Take charge of certain things. I mean, things like invoicing and money. Normally, I don't play when it comes to those, but my business allows me to be in charge of those functionalities sometimes. But then it could be that you take over the control of stocks, where you are the one who's ordering instead of the client. But then also, I saw, actually, by the way, guys, I saw what is this thing? I saw in the news right now, where Woolworths coffee shop is moving towards cashless. maybe it's something that I don't know the dynamic of your customers, because you also don't want to implement something that will disadvantages too much of your customers. Because if you believe that your customers are more cash-based customers a lot, you also might be disadvantaged when it comes to business, because customers might feel frustrated. But if you feel that, no, my customers can use a card, don't allow cash in your system. Right in at the door that we don't accept cash. And that it will not necessarily reduce entirely fraud or theft. It will minimize it, because there are those customers that consciously won't allow someone says, do you have cash instead of card? And when there's a policy there are those people who still ethics. They'll say, but why are you asking me? I'm one of those people. If I see things like that, I'm like, why do you need cash instead of card? I actually will insist with the card because it doesn't sit well with me. So it minimizes then, but then there are those that will probably be promised discounts and things like that, and then they might still continue, but at least you reduce your normal loss. That's what we call normal loss. But then that control would have minimized what you call normal loss. But that is another thing. And then it could be also installing cameras. I mean, that is pretty much another thing. Your premises must have, especially where money and customers flow and things like that. It could be installing cameras. And if camera didn't work at a particular point in time, why was it not working? All those issues, and you're reviewing those cameras and things like that. It could be that. And I think also maybe considering, I'm not sure about your business, it could be issue of rotations of staff, because then what it does, it picks up things like what you did. Another thing, you remind me when you say leave. One of the things that we're reviewing when we're doing audit, we checked those employees, we investigated those employees that were not taking leaves. You see those guys who don't take leaves. So we used to check them and follow up. And that's exactly it. You must have compulsory leaves, but then also maybe rotating your employees. And that allows them to be uncomfortable when it comes to doing things like that, unless they collude. But then, I mean, but at least you are making it and more difficult for them to do these petty things, because people do petty things when there are no controls in place. And that is exactly that. I think we pretty much, I like the fact that we asked what the issue is, and then we sort of zoomed into that particular issue. Are you pretty much answered, Gia? And what I'll do, Gia, I think on issues over and above what I just discussed, which is systems optimization also and system implementation, I'll want JT. I'll have a chat with JT to come maybe join us in one of the sessions, and maybe on the first Wednesday of February. So that we look systems and we look into the systems on how do we go about implementing the systems in our businesses. What are the basic systems that we should be having in our respective business, so that the institution memory doesn't go, if you fire that particular person, that institutional memory doesn't actually disappear with that particular person, because there's always a turnover of staff at work. Okay. And then I think maybe I'm mindful of time, because you don't want to really have a serious board meeting. There was one of our fellow, she spoke about marketing, and I think marketing it's one. I also struggle with that, and I'll be honest. And I think I said that at the beginning. It's one of my biggest challenge, because marketing is broad, and I think from one business to another, what I can be doing in my business might be different to what Gia or Mary is doing, or you are doing, Elaine. So what I'm going to do, there's a gentleman that I just recently met that I've been having a discussion with, that I'm going to have Okay, I'll look at you as think, yeah. There's a gentleman that specializes in marketing and sales and marketing. His name is Bobo. I'm having a chat with him tomorrow. So I'd like to bring him. If you don't mind, Elaine, we park your issue. Unless there's someone who wants to come in and just sort of ask you questions and deliberate on your matter. But then I'll also like to bring Bobo in so that he can give us crash course on general marketing things that, because he's a marketing specialist. And we just zoom into that issue. Because to me, what I'm picking up is the issue here is funding, but I don't like speaking in general when you speak to funding, but I want practical things. And this is where now and then we need to share on practicality of what are we doing in our business, what have worked. Let's kind of keep quiet about applying to these, applying to that person. But what have worked in your business? Surely where you are when you have run a business, something have worked. Share with us what have worked. And I think that's a direction. Elaine, if you don't mind, unless there's someone who wants to just deliberate a little bit on marketing before I close it. You can raise your hand and come through, please, guys. Ask Elaine a couple of questions and then maybe deliberate there and then. Unless, if there's nothing, okay, I'll assume that there isn't much. So I see, Kia, you wanted to ask, you can unmute yourself, ask your question. Please,
No,
Kia.
I mean, in Elaine, it's just that I didn't hear properly in terms of she looks for suppliers or what. So I don't know in terms of looking for markets, like the monthly markets or the weekly markets that happen in the specific, whether if you're in food, because I heard you speak about food, if you're in products, they usually markets that happen. Look on social media for markets in not just in your area, be willing to travel in different towns to look for markets and then display your products there. That might help.
I like that. I like that. Maybe I like that. Elaine, maybe do you want to elaborate what are you struggling? What type of market are you looking for? Maybe let's start there. What is it? And let's be specific. What are you selling? And who are your clients? Who are you looking for? Maybe let's start there. Elaine? Okay. I'm not sure if Elaine can you guys hear me? Can you Mary, can you hear me? Okay. You guys can hear me. Then I'm not sure what could, but I like what you said because it would have been ideal if we knew what specifically she's selling and who are her target markets, and then we then deliberate based on that. And I think that will be it. Okay, guys. Maybe I see that you wanted to ask a question here. Let's see what's your question. Do you want to unmute yourself, Kia? Please come through.
Okay. I also do rental property.
Okay.
So I wanted to know, I want to renovate a property. I want to put paving. So I want to know which institutions I could probably approach that would allow to give funding to do paving at that rental property.
This one I'm gonna pick on Dimagaz. So Dimagaz, unmute yourself, please.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yes, hi, Dimagaz. So thanks.
Hello.
Yes, we can loud and clear and hear you. Do you wanna perhaps answer Gia on the issue
Hey,
of
it's load shedding, guys. I think. Hello.
Hi, D.
All right. Just
Yeah, no. Okay. Yeah, no, it's a load shedding. It's a load shedding indeed. Okay. No, that's fine, D. Let me come in. She's struggling. We can all hear that she's struggling with connectivity. Okay. The reason I picked up on D is because she's an engineer and also she's big on property investing. So that it should have been an ideal person to have a chat around that matter. But I mean, we still have a huge sessions to go. I mean, and there's like 11 more sessions to do in the year. So I think, yeah, for me, when it comes to property investing funding, number one, I always look around friends and families again, because they would have known what I do on the site. That's number one. Number two, personally, I raise money through ecosystem. We've got another ecosystem. I'm not sure if you are in that WhatsApp group. There's another WhatsApp group we have we call it a Tax ADZA, but it's 99% of those guys are property investors. So we tend to also raise money through in that platform where we ask people who wants to be angel investors. In your case, you're probably looking for angel investors rather than partner. So we'll typically then organize a webinar and then ask for money, and then people typically will then say, I'm interested or I'm not interested. That is typically that. So that is another form of how we raise money in that. Another way, it could be you looking at the refinancing your property. If it's bonded, you can go and ask if you've got access bond, you don't have that. Is it paid up? Yeah, just unmute yourself.
It was bought cash.
Okay.
Bond, yes.
Okay, so now so the downside of going for refinancing your property, bonding your property, is that you're gonna have to pay bond fees. So that is a downside. But then the beauty about it is that then it gives you cheap money, because the bond money versus any form of loans that you're going to get out there, you're probably not going to get a good favorable rate as compared to the bond money. So that is sort of consideration that you need to weigh. Even angel investors, I know the going rate for angel investors is around 20% right now, where someone gives you, say, 100,000 and then you pay them after 12 months. Currently, the going rate is about 20%. It's between, the last time I checked, the cheapest was 15%. But then the guys now are requesting like 20% to a certain. So if you compare that with going and doing a refinance and then getting a cheaper bond, cheaper finance, I personally, if I had a good credit profile and a property that is paid up, I'll probably go and raise money that direction instead of, unless then you've got family friends that can just borrow you and don't charge you an interest, then that might be a consideration. And I think that is the conversation probably. Even if you go to the likes of Umastandi, TAF, those institutions that provide funding, they'll probably want you to bond that particular property. They wouldn't just give you loan without bonding, without a form of security. So that is the, and if you want that, I can introduce you to a couple of those guys at TAF and Umastan. But the problem is that they will want the bond. So that is the catch. Then the other one we can help you with is raise money through the ecosystem. But then the challenge with that is that they will need you're looking at about 20% angel investors. That's the return that they're looking for, these guys. Because someone will argue and say, why would I take my money at the fixed deposit that I'm getting probably 10% currently and then still get 10%? So, there's a high risk that I might not get money out of from you. So there's that element. So for that risk premium, then the risk premium then tends to be more expensive, and as a result. So that is typically how the property investing landscape goes about raising capital and especially things like that. So So think about it and let us know what help do you need, and then we can facilitate some of the relationships that you might need. Okay, guys, that's brilliant. Happy. If you guys have got a feedback on how we should handle the sessions, you're more than welcome. I take feedback very well. You're more than welcome to send me a message privately, and we can have a discussions and then because the end of the day, it's about taking the lessons here and going to implement going forward. I'll encourage that going forward, guys. Let's all show our faces and let's participate. Let's bring our issues. And one of the things that we're going to do so that the sessions are fruitful, we're going to request that you send your issues in detail ahead of time. Reason being that so that we give our participant time to peruse your issues, and then they can apply their mind rather than catching them off guard. And then so it's sort of a board preparation of some sort. That is what we're going to ask going forward, so that your issues are able to be addressed. And yeah, and us also in that, when you're articulating those issues, please state what you have solved and what you have failed at, and then we'll be able to grow. Because the intention here is about growth, guys. It's not just to come and listen, and then we rather be only two of us than having 20 people or 30 people and not participating. So we're gonna start monitoring those who are not participating, and unfortunately we'll start trimming the session, and in such a way that those who are participating are the ones that gets invited. We're gonna work with those that are serious running businesses and yeah. So I think that is the message that we need to be firm about, and then we take our business and our time serious, because we could be doing something else instead of sitting here. Okay, thank you so much to the rest of you guys, not singling out Mary and Gia, but I appreciate you guys for showing face. For those who are like me, due for changing classes, you're more than welcome to reach out to Gia. I think she's in Marigana Square and Bethlehem Street in Rustenburg. So if you're in Northwest, I'm gonna drive there when I'm due for change. I actually lost my sunglasses. They stole my sunglasses thinking that it's normal sunglasses, not realizing it's a prescribed sunglasses. Anyway, so good luck for them to use them. And then Mary, please let's see your details. Mary is Cortez. She's into branding and displaying and printing. Where are you based, Mary?
I'm in Tsakani.
Okay, Mary, she's in Tsakani. Yeah, so please support her. Those who are looking for branding, her number is there. I'm sure it has a WhatsApp. Yeah, your details will be online on my YouTube. Everyone, whoever's watching YouTube, please support our SMEs. They're doing fantastically well. And yeah, and one of the things that I'm going to be forcing is we need to start asking ourselves, have we referred anyone to Gia? As an example, what have you referred to Mary? They need to be that culture. So we're going to hold each other accountable every 3 months to see that what have you done, at least in the ecosystem? Have you helped one of us to grow? If you've got opportunities within your business for supply chain, look internally and say, guys, listen, I need someone start with our ecosystem, and that's precisely to market exactly how Elaine is struggling. So if you can buy certain things from Elaine, support her, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing going forward. So yeah, we'll refine and refine SMEs Connect South Africa as we go along. And thank you so much for joining. And any feedbacks, please private message me and then we are good to go. Well done. And I'll see you guys on our next session, first Wednesday. Yes, first Wednesday. And then, yeah, we'll communicate into our WhatsApp groups. And then, yeah, good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
There is someone, Kobela Poshok. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing wrong. I'm not good with, but
Okay.
Kobela Poshoko.
Poshoko,
They
yeah.
sent a message, yes.
Okay, let's see. Let's quickly attend to quickly before we leave. You are, that's why we, good evening. My name is Kobela. I'm a director of Mwedi Telecoms and started another company, Tata Solution. Mwedi, we do CCTV, access control, well as so we need assistance with financing and marketing our business. We have been offered a PO by one of the departments and need the funds can deliver on the contract. I please need assistance with people that might be interested so that we can get a funding. Okay. I'm struggling to unmute. I think Kobela, I'll ask you to send this question in our, because I'm mindful of time. I'll ask you to send this question in our WhatsApp group, and then some of the guys might do that. I know there's a guys that I met when I was still in radio that finance purchase orders. So I'm gonna ask my contact what is the name of that particular institution, and then I'll also share it on the WhatsApp group. I didn't get that guy's number, but I know one of my contacts is close to that individual. So I'll request that information and then forward it in the WhatsApp group. But in the meantime, put that information, that request. You are in the WhatsApp group, Kobela. Are you not on the WhatsApp group? Okay, she's not on. Okay, send me a WhatsApp and then I'll add you into the WhatsApp group, Kobela. Send me a WhatsApp and then I'll add you into our WhatsApp group, and then yeah, I think that's about it. Okay, and then yeah, let's this issue of funding is going to be a big animal, but we'll tackle it, and we'll tackle it with the practical solutions that are sustainable. Okay, all the best, guys, in the next 3 weeks, and then we'll see each other on the first Wednesday.